Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast. I'm your host, Steve Creasy, and joining me, as always, for our first show of 2019 is Christy Puttick from PackYourPixieDust.com. How are you doing today, Christy?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad, and I thought it would be kind of fun to call this the Cabanas podcast today, because we're going to talk a little bit about everything, just kind of like when you go to Cabanas, there's a little bit of everything for you to eat.
Good job.
I thought we could start off real quick talking about the marathon weekend that I just got back from, if you want to do that.
Sure.
And I want to thank you, first of all, for kind of handling my travel arrangements and booking me into Pop Century, and I kind of had a couple different thoughts about that. I had not stayed at a Value before, and I'd always heard about the theming of the different resorts, and actually just at my time at Walt Disney World, I've actually never been to any of the Value resorts. I've never taken the time to go over there, and you've stayed at Pop before, right, Christy?
Well, not Pop, but Art of Animation.
Do you have a Value resort that you prefer to stay at?
The Four Seasons? I'm kidding, of course. But, I mean, I haven't stayed at Pop, so I've only stayed at the Art of Animation. And the theming was so darn adorable for the Art of Animation that I could for sure go back, especially while I still have a young kid. But, you know, I like having a roof to walk under as I'm walking from the lobby to my hotel room, which is not always available at every hotel, but the deluxes usually have that feature, and I enjoy that feature. In case it's bad weather, it's nice to have a roof. So I can see its purpose, though. If you have a quick trip, you're not spending any time in there, or even if you have a long trip, but you're go to the park all day long, the Values are perfect. If you have little kids that really want that Disney magic, the Values are perfect. I had a client once that went to Port Orleans Riverside and stayed in a regular room, which I think are just lovely. And she was like, this is not Disney enough. And I get that. Even at the Beach Club over New Year's, there in the hallway, there was like a Mickey symbol. But in my room, I don't think anything had Mickey Mouse on it. There was not a Mickey symbol to be found. So I could have been at the Marriott, you know, for all we knew. The bed, once the little fold-out bed occurred, which is where Blake slept, so that had like a picture on it. But if you didn't use that fold-out bed, you wouldn't know that that was there, and you wouldn't have that feature. So, you know, they throw Disney at you at the Values, which is, I think that's great.
It kind of caught me off guard, to be completely honest, because I'd always heard about the different theming and everything like that. And as you said, I thought it was a perfect place to stay. It was just myself. I was down there with my brother and his partner. They were over at French Quarter this time, and I couldn't get into there. But just for myself, I wasn't going to be in the room very often, so thought I'd try out one of the Values. And I was really amazed as I turned the corner to our building, and there, behold, was Tramp. And I've never really said this before, but Lady and the Tramp is actually my favorite Disney movie, or favorite Disney animated movie, and Tramp is one of my favorite characters. I'm not sure what that's saying about myself, but maybe we shouldn't go there. But yeah, I was that put me in just like this great mood. I have a Tramp right out there in front of the building. I thought that was awesome. I got into the room itself, and they just redone it, and it was really nice. You know, you had Mickey on the wall. They've got the hardwood floors, and I think I heard Len Testa talking about it. You know, it'd be kind of nice if they had maybe something near the bed, so that, you know, if you track in a little bit of dirt and stuff on the floor, maybe you don't bring that into the bed when you get into the bed itself. But yeah, I thought the rooms were really nice. And one of the things that I wanted to throw out there, and this might be a little controversial, they do have the kind of pump dispensers in the shower. And, you know, one of the things I was thinking about is, you know, I've stayed at a lot of different hotels, and I've stayed over the years with the job that I do, traveling, and we've stayed in some, you know, less expensive hotels, and we've stayed in some expensive hotels. And I distinctly remember, you know, 5-10 years ago, staying at some pretty nice hotels. There's one in San Diego that comes to mind that's right downtown, and then I've stayed at the Fairmont, which is up in Canada, and they all have pump dispensers on there. So the idea that putting a pump dispenser on there is somehow cheapening it, in my mind, I guess doesn't quite play out. But I thought they were fine.
You know, people could be thinking, though, of the pump dispensers that are like on the Carnival Cruise Line. And I'm telling you, and even Royal Caribbean, there is nothing classy about those pumps. They have like junky soap in them, and nothing, like, you never have good looking hair when you're done taking a shower with those things. and the soap like never suds up properly. So if somebody has in mind that that's the soap they're going to get because that's the experience they've had with those dispensered soap containers, I can totally see how you would be annoyed by it. I can also see that people love the little bottles of shampoo to take home. Totally get that too. So unfortunately now we have to buy little bottles of shampoo. I can see that. But like you said, that they're all locked down. So you couldn't really, I mean, maybe, yes, you could like pin a hole in there and blah, blah, blah. But that would take a lot more effort to actually harm the contents of those pumps.
I guess the trusting nature of myself, I guess, is that I don't think too many people are going to go through the trouble of doing something like that. And they had shampoo, they had conditioner, and then they had, was it body wash?
Yeah.
And they were all the same stuff that's on board the cruise line now. So they've got the green H2O products and whatnot. So I don't know. I thought it was an excellent room. The bed was comfortable, and it was like the perfect value for a quick 2-night trip to run down there and do the marathon.
To run down there and run.
Yeah, to run down there and run, exactly. So, and just a couple things about the marathon weekend. Another great, fun weekend down there running the marathon. It was kind of interesting. I was looking up. It didn't sell out for the first time. Matter of fact, the marathon, yeah. So the 5K and the 10K did. The half and the full marathon didn't. Matter of fact, they had probably, I was looking at the numbers, looks like about 9,000 less participants in the marathon this year than they did last year. Yeah. So last year they had a little over 20. This year was just a little under 12.
It felt later in the year to me. Doesn't it seem like it's usually a little earlier?
I think it was maybe a week, just because of the way the weekends ran. I think it's
right.
I think like last year, I think it was like the 7th or 8th. This year it was the 13th, so it might have been like the second weekend of January versus the first. I also kind of wonder, with Star Wars, they talk about the whole Star Wars Land effect. If people are kind of holding off. Last year was the 25th anniversary for the marathon as well, so maybe it's kind of a little hangover for that. I don't know. Maybe people are just tired of running.
Maybe they're tired of paying those prices.
Well, so I wanted to bring that point too, because I know that this is kind of a controversial thing too. But for the marathon, and I should have looked this up ahead of time, what I paid. In my mind, it was like about $185 for the marathon.
Maybe that's not so much more than other cities' marathons.
Yeah, and even if it was $200, and I apologize that I don't have the number right at my fingertips here. I was looking at the Wine and Dine coming up, the half marathon for this year, and I think it's like 2 something, like the low 2s, but. I mean, if you're going to Chicago, you're going to New York, you're doing any of those big races, you're paying well over $200 for a race. Now, I know that not everybody can afford that. It's a price point that has gone up, just like the tickets at Walt Disney World as well, just like the cruise line continues to go up. But for my book, I've run Portland and I've run the Marine Corps Marathon. And while the Marine Corps Marathon was fun running around D.C., I can tell you that neither one of those other marathons offer the amount of services that the Walt Disney World one does, as far as how many water stations there are on the course, how many bathrooms there are, all the entertainment that you get to go as you're kind of going around the course as well. And it was pretty hot on Sunday once the sun came up. And I don't know if they added water stations, but geez, like the last 5 miles, it seemed like almost every mile they had a water station, which was really helpful because of the conditions. So. I know the Marine Corps Marathon, they did not have water stations, and I'm not picking on the Marine Corps Marathon at all. So I think you get a lot of value for what you're paying for. And while it is expensive, it's definitely in line with any of the other big marathons around the country.
And it's an awesome medal.
Yes. Yeah, the Marine Corps one was pretty good. I've never looked to see like what you get in Chicago or New York, but you definitely, get an awesome medal when you go.
I have a Chicago medal.
Uh-huh.
I'll send it to you. I'll show you a picture.
Okay. Well, we'll try and post that on Instagram. But super fun weekend overall. Any other questions you thought about for the marathon?
Did you run with your brother?
No, so my brother and his partner did the Dopey this year, just like they did last year, and this is like their third marathon. I guess it's 2019, so not this year, but. Over the course of like the last 12 months, they've run 3 or 4 different marathons. And so they are in a lot better shape than I was. So they started ahead of me and I started behind them. We were all in the same Corral C. And I actually passed them somewhere along the course and I didn't even realize it.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, they had already previously, in the previous like 4 days, run 1 million miles. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, that's totally true.
I mean, they completed a half marathon the day before.
Yeah. So, yeah, they did the Dopey, the 5, the 10, the half marathon, and then the full marathon. So
I'm pretty sure for optimal results, you're not supposed to run a half marathon the day before your marathon.
no, but you would be amazed. Like, that's what I love about the marathon and these races and just in general. Like, you would be surprised the people who run it and how many times people have run these races. So there was a guy that I kept on passing, and then he'd pass me, and then I'd pass him, and he'd run 10 of the goofies. So he was like a perfect goofy, they call it. So he's done every one of the goofy challenges where you do the half marathon and the marathon. So yeah, it's amazing how many times people run this over and over again. So
it's addicting, much like Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
One other question: did you go on Everest?
No, it was not open by the time. I was too fast.
Well, good job. Kudos to you for that.
I could have ridden Tower of Terror by the time I got to Hollywood Studios, but by the time you get to that, you just want to be done.
Right.
Yeah. So plus they have a chocolate stop there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of the hidden secret. When you go by just before you get to Tower of Terror, they have this like chocolate stop, and they have every type of chocolate you can think of, which is kind of fun.
Did you have chocolate?
I did not. I passed it this time, but I think last year I got the Reese's Pieces or something like that. Although, is that chocolate? I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Chocolate with peanut butter.
Chocolate with peanut butter. So, yeah, no, but super fun weekend. I said it was going to be my last, but now I'm edging to maybe do another one. Well, before we get into our next topic, I think Christy and I really wanted to thank all of our listeners, not only those of you who have listened to the show, but especially those of you who have taken time to come on this past year and the year prior since we started this podcast. It's been just an amazing run. We've had just some amazing topics, and we can't thank all of you out there enough for taking time out of your busy lives to come on and share your trips and travels with us and our listeners.
Yes, thank you.
We really appreciate everybody who's come on, and really want to encourage those of you who are traveling here in 2019, when you get back from your trips, if you'd like to come on and share your experiences as well, we'd love to have you on and kind of share your experiences with our listeners out there so we all can learn to travel a little bit better on Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and especially if anybody's going out on a river cruise. I know Frank's heading out this summer, but we'd love to have some feedback on the river cruises as well.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or topics that you'd like to cover, like us to cover in the show, you can reach out with those as well.
And moving on then to our next stop in Cabanas, and as I kind of alluded in the name of the podcast, to 2019 and beyond. Christy, what are some of your guys' plans moving into 2019?
Well, we had one of our trips already. We also were in Walt Disney World this year. We spent New Year's Eve there and had a great 4-night stay at the Beach Club.
And that was your first DVC stay, right?
It was.
And what was it like being down there over New Year's? Now, I've heard, on several different other shows how busy the parks get. Did you guys go into the parks at all?
We didn't. We have annual passes, actually, burning a hole in my pocket. But our next trip is not going to be until late April, at least as of what is planned now. And I didn't want to have the almost 5 months in the middle not being used. So, and I would have invented more trips, and I'm trying to be slightly responsible. So I opted to go the route of not using my annual passes, not going to the parks, having them start in late April, and then I'll have a whole, that whole next year over my spring break as well for them to be valid.
Okay.
So no parks, but I was super worried about the crowds, and I had done a ton of research, like to the point of going, oh my gosh, was this trip a mistake? Like, people are saying they can't park at Disney Springs. It was wall-to-wall people. And I understand that later in the day and in the evenings and things like that, Disney Springs was pretty crowded. But we went several times, but we always went early, like right after it opened and right to about lunchtime, and left right after that. And we did not have any problems. We didn't have problems finding parking. We didn't have problems like, just walking around and being there and eating. So I don't know if we had really good timing or got lucky or what, but it was not as daunting as I thought it would be.
And what was the resorts like? I'm sure that they were pretty much full for the over the years. But what was it like being in the resorts?
Well, and that was another thing. Like, I was anticipating that we were going to have to wait to check in to restaurants and that the check-ins would take a ridiculous amount of time. And, Chef Mickey's took a long time. Chef Mickey's always takes a long time to check into, I feel like. But everywhere else was a breeze. And so, there were people there, but it wasn't overly crowded. Even when we went to the Contemporary to eat twice. I was concerned about being able to park, like really concerned, like we made contingency backup plans if we weren't going to be able to park. And we had no issues because we had a reservation. Now they like looked it up, made sure you had a reservation. And, we had my kid in the car. So that made it more legit that, yes, we were showing up for a reservation for 3. We had a reservation. It was for 3 people. My child was in the car. So that all helped make the story more legit. Because as shockingly as it might be, there are people that are just pretending or making a reservation for 1, but having 3 people in their car, saying they're going to eat somewhere, losing the $10 and not actually because of making the dining reservation they don't show up for, using it as a parking lot to get to the parks, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. And I think you had a little bit of magic there when you guys were on this trip as well.
Yeah. So it's like backward magic.
I don't know if you call it magic, but it sounds like magic to me.
So we had the dining plan this time. And my reason for getting the dining plan was that I could get it before the prices had gone up one more time, because I think they were about to go up when I purchased it or something like that. Disney adjusts their prices. So if it's their busiest time of year, their buffets cost a few dollars more per person because they can, because people are going to go and they're going to eat it. So they have ranges for their prices. And if you were to go during a shoulder season or, mid-January, not on a holiday weekend, they're going, and it's not the marathon, things like that, they're going to have a little bit lower prices. So since my dining plan was going to cost the same, and because we have a child that's between the ages of 3 and 9, it's worth it. Like Chef Mickey's, the one day we went, cost for my kid would have cost $33, and for his dining plan for the whole day it was $26.
Wow.
So, and you get another meal and you get 2 snacks and you get your drinks and all that. So I still have to do the math on the whole trip, but it appeared to be worth it. So, but where the magic comes in, we went to Chef Mickey's, and actually I used touring plans to get that reservation because we booked this trip kind of late. I had a reaction. So as you guys know, I'm celiac. I can't eat gluten. And gluten is basically wheat, rye, and barley. And I reacted to the meal. Now, I had met with the chef. He brought me all my food from the back. We ordered it off of their little menu. I shouldn't have had a reaction, but I did. And it happens. Unfortunately, it happens everywhere. When you're eating out, there's always that risk. Disney is very careful as a place can be. And sometimes you get a reaction. Well, Disney has on their app like a tell us how we're doing type chat feature. So we had gotten back to the hotel, and I go, I just, like, my son was getting put down to bed. I go, I just want to tell somebody because that chef took such good care of me, and I think he would want to know that I reacted to this food because he was amazing. And what if it was a little kid? Like, I wouldn't want a little kid to have a reaction to the meal. So the person, like, I got transferred from my chat to one person to the other. They had all the lists. They read it through. And the guy was like, I am so, so sorry. He asked a series of questions, but then he's like, I'm going to refund your dining credits. And I was like, wow, you don't have to do that. Thank you. I really just wanted you to let the chef know so that no other no kids get sick. And so they gave us back our dining credits. All of us, for all 3 of us.
Wow.
So then I'm like, I don't have that many days left to use these dining credits. Like, we were already going to be unsure if we were going to be able to use all of our quick service credits. So I looked and I'm like, well, we need to go to a signature restaurant because I could use 2 dining credits. I was able to get a California Grill reservation for the next day for 5:30 p.m. And the Magic Kingdom was doing their New Year's Eve firework preview, which they do on the 30th and 31st at 6:30. So we got to watch the sunset from California Grill. We got to eat a fantastic meal, and we got to watch the New Year's Eve fireworks from the catwalk at the California Grill.
Wow. I mean, what are the chances of a California Grill reservation coming open, much less that time?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, my unicorn moment. Like, everything fell into place. No one would ever wish being sick upon anybody, but I have to say it was a pretty cool outcome. It was really magical. It was so awesome to have my son on my husband's shoulders and just being able to catch all of the fireworks without us having to be out really late and, without dealing with the crowds. It was so special and so magical.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but
like as you said, I'm glad there was a good turn of events for you to experience that, I guess.
So pro tip for everybody on the planet, look for a 5 o'clock or 5:30 reservation at California Grill. If you have little ones on the 30th or the 31st, you can catch the New Year's Eve fireworks from the catwalk up there.
Well, that's a good tip right there. So, well, did you guys get to see the fireworks? So you guys are at Beach Club, so you're right next to Epcot. Did you get to see the actual fireworks on New Year's Eve then?
Well, so on New Year's Eve, I was sleeping. However, I was just really tired. But we could hear them, and I actually even slept through that. But they did, on New Year's Eve, they did the fireworks at 6:30 from Epcot as well. And we were eating at Trattoria Al Forno in the boardwalk. And I went outside actually to watch them. And you could see the high fireworks. You could see a good amount of them. I think I missed some of them because it was just starting to get a little bit long, which that's not a bad problem. It's just we were eating dinner still. So I got to see the New Year's Eve fireworks, but then I also got to one more time see the Magic Kingdom fireworks because you can see them over the boardwalk if you're on the beach. No, you can see them over the Beach Club if you're on the boardwalk side.
Okay. Well,
so I got fireworks everywhere.
So for those who don't want to venture into the park, New Year's Eve, the boardwalk area is a great place to stay once New Year's Eve hits to be able to see the fireworks from both sides then, I guess, huh?
You're only going to get to see the high ones at Epcot. There is stuff you still miss, but yes, you'll still be able to see the fireworks.
Well, that's awesome. Anything else stand out from this trip that you guys start the year with?
I got to meet Sarah from the gluten-free, dairy-free at Walt Disney World.
Oh, that's right. So you guys had lunch or something, right? Or
yeah, we met for beignets at the French Quarter because they have gluten-free options.
Okay. And how was that?
It was great. It was wonderful.
That's cool that you guys got to connect. So, well, you start off down at Walt Disney World in 2019 in January with New Year's Eve. What's next for you guys, and what do you guys have planned for this year?
Well, in 3 days, 4 days, we go on the Celebrity Edge again. This is the cruise that I had booked. Actually, I looked it up. We booked it in 2017, so right when it opened up. So this is the one I got to preview back in November, but this week coming up is the actual week we had booked to send our family on.
Okay, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it, since you had those back-to-back 2 days that we talked about earlier, having the longer time on it and kind of getting more of a feel of the ship. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are then.
I'm looking forward to it, too.
Do you have plans to go and hang out with, what were those people called again?
Oh, Edenists.
Yeah, the Edenists, that's right.
One of my cousins will be with me, a different cousin than was on the preview. So one of my cousins is cruising with us as well. And I am sure she'll want to go there and mess with them at some point. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's going to happen.
And if you don't know what the Edenists are, I encourage you to go back and listen to our last podcast on the Edge, or come back and listen when Christy kind of talks about their next time on the Edge as well. So kind of an interesting space on the Edge ship that they've built.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get the Edge coming up, and then what's next?
So it was potentially going to be Cuba, actually, with a friend from law school, but Apple Vacations could not get enough people to go. So it looks like that was just canceled as of a couple days ago. So if we can find a weekend Cuba trip, we may go to Cuba. Have you been?
Yes, kind of indirectly. When I was in the military, we landed, for those of you who may have seen A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And they're in Guantanamo Bay. I've been to Guantanamo Bay, which is like actually kind of a weird little part of Cuba that the U.S. has a lease on for like 100 and some years, and we've got an airbase there, or there's a runway that the Navy uses, and Cuba still honored that lease. And so when I was back at the Air Force, we used to fly into and out of there every now and then. So that's the only place I've been, but I haven't really seen the real Cuba.
Huh. Cool though. Yeah,
but I'd like to go someday. I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to go and see it before it opens up completely to tourists from America.
Right, until it's completely changed.
Yeah, exactly. When there's not like a Hard Rock or TGI Fridays on the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Starbucks,
yeah.
So then we get to my Walt Disney World run. First, late April, we have a week planned at Wilderness Lodge. So we are going to be there for a week. I'm pretty excited. We're actually staying club level that trip, and we are going to purchase the extra fast passes that you can purchase as a club level guest. So you get 3 extra fast passes per person for any of the days that you happen to purchase it. And there's a 3-day minimum, so we are going to purchase it for 3 days. You also get special viewing for the evening shows. So I'm kind of excited to have my son see Happily Ever After. We'll see what else we can get to that doesn't keep him up too late. I definitely want to see Illuminations. So it might be that I'm going by myself, but I'm definitely going to go see Illuminations before it goes away this summer. Then in May, so right after that trip, I think it's like the very next weekend, I have a wedding to attend in New Orleans. So that's up. And you haven't been there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go. And I think we were talking about this off air one time, but I actually went after I graduated from, or right before I graduated from pilot training. We went down for Fat Tuesday. And so without getting into that, I don't remember a lot about it. And I'd like to go.
Do you not remember because you were it was so many years, or do you not remember because you were crazy in New Orleans?
Let's run with so many years. We'll just run with that one, okay? But I'd like to go back as an adult or a mature adult and like really experience some of the culture, the food, and to get down there. And there's a World War II museum. I'm a big World War II buff. I'd love to go down and see that. So kind of kicking around the idea of if those cruises work well out of New Orleans with DCL, maybe kind of incorporating something like that, going down and spending some time in the city, either before or after the cruise.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're going to take one of those cruises, you got to do that.
Yeah, so that's kind of on our bucket list to do. But that'd be awesome if you guys go down there.
Yeah, I'm going.
Oh.
I'm going. I don't know that Dave is going to go.
Okay.
We haven't decided about that yet.
Okay, but that sounds like just an amazing trip as well.
Yeah. Then my summer of Walt Disney World begins, and I guess I can test if I really want to live there one year or one day. Late June, we have decided to add on a Walt Disney World few days prior to our late June 5-night on the Dream double dip to Castaway Cay cruise. So, and then after that cruise, we're going to go back to Walt Disney World for a few days, since we can basically stay the whole rest of that week and only miss one day of work with 4th of July. So then I can see some 4th of July fireworks if I can stay up that late.
Yeah, it might be harder for them to shoot them off earlier. I don't think they have a pre-show.
I don't think I'm going to get a 6:30 showing.
No, it's going to still be light there then. So
super sad.
Yeah.
But I am going to try. I think that one I'm really going to make an effort because we are staying at the Boardwalk for that second hotel stay, and I was able to get a hotel reservation at the Boardwalk Inn, which I was super excited about. So I do think because of the proximity to the park, I really just need to get my butt over there and watch the fireworks.
Yeah, take one for the team so you can come back and report on it.
Okay, will do.
And does that kind of round things out, or is there still more planned? Wait, there's more.
Yes, but wait, there's more. We actually, prior to making any of those other hotel reservations, we had decided that in late August, since my son, the day camp / daycare that he'll be attending is closed, and since I'd have to parent, I always make that choice of if I have to parent, I should parent in on vacation. We are going back to Walt Disney World and staying at Copper Creek.
So are you using your points on all of these that you guys are staying at?
Yeah, I'm borrowing / renting points, paying for points from my mom, our family friend for the one trip, the Boardwalk Inn. And then that late April, I am staying there as cash guest.
Okay.
And the rest of these are points with DVC. And we'll talk about in a little bit how I get to have so many points this first year.
Okay, perfect.
So then Thanksgiving, I'm super excited. We're going to spend Thanksgiving at Walt Disney World this year.
And where are you guys staying this time?
Copper Creek. Again.
Copper Creek, perfect.
So I was able to stay. That's our home resort. And we are going to go like a Monday to Saturday. And in fact, when people get around to listening to this, I actually stock airfare on occasion. And I was able to get airfare for Thanksgiving week for about $30 more a ticket than I would typically pay to go to Walt Disney World. So I swooped those up. Nice,
because that's only probably going to go up in cost.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'll significantly go up from there, I think. Then that is it. So, well, let's be honest. Since I have the annual passes, Dave and I will probably go and do like a quick 36 or 48 hours at Walt Disney World during Food and Wine sometime.
Do you have any thoughts about what you guys are going to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Just out of curiosity.
So Liberty Tree Tavern, if I decide to do that. I mean, it's got all the fixings, and they make amazing food, gluten-free. Like, they have the yummy gravy and everything. So, and that's at Walt Disney, or that's at the Magic Kingdom. So we could do that. But actually, there were reports of people that were at the Wilderness Lodge this year for Thanksgiving, and they did a whole turkey dinner spread right in Roaring Fork. And I think even at that bar you love.
Oh, at Geyser Point.
Geyser Point, yes. Mm-hmm. So they had, you could buy a meal that was really quite reasonable, a plate of Thanksgiving food.
Yeah, they make really good food there. So, if you didn't want to do a full sit down and you want something maybe a little bit more casual, I would venture to guess that it's probably going to be pretty good there.
Maybe what I'll do is do lunch at the Magic Kingdom, and then one of those, we could split up some of those meals in the evening. I could have turkey all day.
The tryptophan's not going to kick in on you?
I will be on vacation. I could take a nap.
Okay. And you're in your place that you love too, so I'm sure that will keep you going as well. So
yes.
Well, that sounds like...
That is it. That is our year of Walt Disney World.
All right. Well, I've got it all written down. We're going to see what takes place and what gets added on.
I don't have a lot of time.
You got to work somewhere in between all that. So, well, our year's not quite as exciting. Although we are going to Disneyland next weekend, or not this weekend, but the weekend after, I guess. It was kind of a last-minute thing. The kids have Friday off, so we hadn't been there. I wanted to get there, I guess, before Star Wars Land opens, because I think, and maybe I'm just being gun-shy on this, I just think it's going to be crazy at Walt Disney World and Disneyland
once that opens. It's going to be crazy. So I really might do the year of Walt Disney World, and then not go back for like 2 years.
Yeah, so we're kind of thinking that like we're probably not going to get it in. This is like the perfect time to get it in if we're going to go again one more time before Star Wars Land opens. So
I agree.
Yeah, so we're just doing we're going to pop down there. We're staying at the Disneyland Hotel, which is one of our favorites. We love that place, and spend a couple days just kind of hanging around the parks in 2 weekends already. And then after that, we've got our big probably vacation of the year set up. We've got a 7-day Eastern sailing on the Disney Fantasy, finally getting on one of the bigger ships, and everybody's excited about that.
Have you done your pre-registration? It would have been time for all that now, right?
Yeah, we got everything done sometime in December, I guess. So
that's that you're going, because you just kept. I remember a while back you were going back and forth. Will you guys really go? So this is it.
Yeah,
the DCL podcast host is finally going on the Fantasy.
Yeah, finally going on the Fantasy and finally going out of Port Canaveral.
Yeah,
how sad is that?
That is so sad.
But no, everybody's excited about it. I'm really excited about seeing the ships. I really want to do the Art of the Theme show tour to kind of get the history of the background of how they theme the Fantasy. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. And the kids are excited about the Aqua Duck. Gotta make sure I say that right. And riding that. And they want to check out the kids clubs and see what they're like compared to the Magic of the Wonder. Yeah, so that's kind of our big trip is over spring break going on the Fantasy. Then we got just kind of a big family vacation set up for North Carolina down to Wilmington. Have you ever been down to that part of the country?
No.
Yeah.
I've been, no. Let's go back to just no.
Okay, go back and say no. It's beautiful out there on the coastline, and we love going to North Carolina, spending time with family back there. I really want to go down to, now that you're a DVC member, Christy, I really would like to go down to Hilton Head. I don't know if you have any desire on that, but that's kind of our bucket list that we'd like to do in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think if you're that close, you should just go.
I know. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out this time. Plus, I don't. And you're going to find out we're kind of out of points.
Yeah, well, you and me both.
Yeah, I think we got 38 left for 2019, and here it is at the beginning of 2019, so probably not going to happen this year. But yeah, so that's what we got. And then on in the fall, we've got a 3-day cruise booked on the Disney Dream, and I'm just going back and forth on this for some reason. I don't know why. I really want to do it. I really want to sail on the Dream, but I think I've been going back and forth across the country too much this last week, and the idea of going all the way across and just doing 3 days and coming back, I'd like to figure out a way that we could get a couple more days in, I guess.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of travel.
It does, and then
from the West Coast.
Yeah, I just wish there was one that fit for us out of San Diego. They are sailing the Wonder sailing out of San Diego at that time, but nothing fits for that time period that we need, that the kids have off. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that one. That one's to be determined, I guess. People
used to always say that spouses, your husband or your wife is a ball and chain. Oh, that ball and chain. No, those children are. Yeah. They are the things that tie you down and prevent you from being able to do something fun.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is like, I'd love to, when they only have one sailing in 2019 up into Canada, I'd love to do that. But once again, it just doesn't. And we're not the kind of people that are against taking our kids out of class to go and do something, but I don't know.
It gets harder.
It does. And especially with our older one in junior high now, it's, it's harder on him because when he misses stuff, he's got to really, really work hard to get caught back up. So it's got to be, I don't know how to say this the right way, but it's got to be kind of a special reason to go and do it, I guess. And
it has to be the perfect trip. Like if you're doing a Panama Canal cruise or something like that.
Right. So, yeah, like you said, I'd want it to be something bigger, I guess, if we're going to pull them out of school for that. So, I don't know.
Kids going to go?
Yeah, the kids are definitely going.
Oh,
so.
Well, the advantage, if you decided to really take them, is they have the Millennium Falcon on the Dream. So that would be something exciting about that cruise for them.
Yeah, I know. Our youngest one, he's been talking about that. He's seen videos of it, so he really wants to fly that. So, well, that's kind of our plan for 2019. And so we want to hear about your 2019 as well. And we really mean that. If you would like to come on and share your experiences, we sure would love to have you. So reach out to Christy and I, and we'll get you on. Well, let's segue. We've got 2 more segments here in our Cabana show. We're going to head over to, I don't know, maybe the hot foods this time. And let's talk a little bit about DVC. So you guys just purchased DVC and you did it on your last cruise. How long had you been thinking about purchasing DVC, Christy?
I mean, the answer since I purchased it should have been forever. And I've been giving it such serious thought all this time. Honestly, it was these passing thoughts that I had for years. But honestly, when I'm looking at, like, I manage my friend's DVC account online. I help her out and bank her points and do all this. When I look at what she paid for her contract versus what I paid for my contract, darn it, I should have done it a long time ago. So people say once you sign up, you will say, for the most part, what they say, like 99.9% of people say, we wish we would have done this earlier. And that probably will end up being our outcome as well. We wish we would have purchased earlier. And one of the decisions, a couple of the decisions where we weren't sure, is that I do have, this friend of mine's DVC contract that she lets me pay a very, very low rate, frankly. She's not like she's selling them to rent points like a bunch of people do online. So a very fair rate. So I have access. I've had access for years to her points, and we've used them. As a travel agent, we get some perks. But the thing is, I don't know that I'll always be a travel agent. But I can't imagine that, at least in the near future and for the next, 20 years or whatever, that I'm not going to want to keep going to Walt Disney World. Mm-hmm. So, and I can go in bigger accommodations for less time if I don't want to go, 5 times a year. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to go 5 times a year to still make it reasonable. And I can just stay in a bigger room, which we love anyway. I can go stay in one of those cabins again, use up all my points in one night. So for us, it was one of those, they always say you wish you would have done it earlier. I did have a little extra money. I had this condo they had gotten, which I look at as sort of like an inheritance because my grandma had given us money for it. We sold that condo this year, and we had a little extra money from it. And we did our savings, we did all the responsible things, so we had some extra money. And I had said I'm not going to just spend it on a vacation that is 1 week and done. Like I said, this money is important, and I don't want it to go away in a week. But if it's a vacation that I can have for 50 years, then, that's a vacation home. It's an investment. It's not a good investment. So people that say they buy this it is not a good investment in terms of what a person should really do with their money. But for us and how we travel, it makes sense. But really quick on how, unless you have another question, how it works doing the meetings on the cruise line.
Well, yeah, let's just talk about that. So, or just set that up before you get into it. So you guys did this on your last cruise. They always have DVC members. You're going to see them and I'm going to guess that the big ships is kind of the same way. You see them in the atrium area generally, and from day one, they usually have a members kind of meet and greet where they give you some free drinks and they kind of give you a heads up on what's new, and they kind of entice you if you want to add on to your points packages, and then they're available all week long where they give several different presentations for people who are not members to kind of come in and learn about the program. So why don't we start from there and then how you guys got into buying them?
Yes. Do you go to that, by the way, on the cruise? The first, backing up a little, do you go to that first kickoff, like you're going to go on this cruise and here's your drink? Do you usually go to that?
So we bought our first contract on the Wonder, our very first cruise, kind of like you did. Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah. And, that cruise, they had several different kind of meetups along. I remember this distinctly for some reason, but they had several different meetups for the members. And the day that we went up to the glacier, they had a big meetup upstairs where kind of they had drinks and special food and everything like that. But since then, I've only seen just that first day. And usually, to answer your question, no, because it's like right after you get on the ship. It's like about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, I can't remember, it's either right before the lifeboat drill or right after.
I think it's right before.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we love being DVC members. I kind of keep up with it online. So to sit through kind of, I don't want to call it a sales pitch, but it is a little bit of a sales pitch. No, I guess I'd rather do something else on the ship. So
totally get it.
Yeah. So
okay, I was just wondering if you would.
Yeah.
So we did not go. So they'll advertise, even on a 3-night cruise, they will have 1 or 2, usually 1, I think for that. I don't know. 1 or 2 presentations where they'll talk about DVC. You can go, you have a chance to win a gift card up to $200. Somebody in that audience is going to win. So you can listen to their little presentation. I didn't do that. My husband and I were talking about it. Honestly, I wanted to know how much it cost. And because we had seen it, you see it at the parks, you see it at all these different places. And I was walking around the one night, I think my husband was putting my son to bed, and I was just walking around. I said, I want more information. I'd like to know how much it costs. And so you have to do a sit-down meeting. We set up an appointment for the next day. They gave us, I want to say, a $25 gift card for both my husband and I to attend. So I think it was, if he attended as well, we got $25 each. Or if I just attended, I got $25. It was in this actual cabin. So they set up a little office in the cabin on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you set up a meeting, and the meeting is the next day. And the people that work those desks are not the sales agents, if that makes sense. They are just people that work the desk. And they don't really have a lot of information. They can answer some questions, but they say, we'd like you to get the information at a meeting. It is not a hard sell meeting, though, at all. And I went right in and I said, I honestly just want to know how much it cost. And the guy was easily able to just say, yep, I will show you exactly what it cost. He's like, what do you know about it already? So I said, my friend has it. I manage her account online. I said that I'm a travel agent as well, so I'm curious how this will work with being an agent. He actually advised me that he, as a cast member, and gets the similar discount that opportunities that we get as travel agents. They get a lot more than we do, I think. But they have similar discount possibilities as cast members for Disney. And he said that he and his family still have it, and they love it, and they're glad that they've purchased, and they keep adding on and buying more points and things like that. Like I said, they gave us $25 just for attending. He said, you just have to show up and let me talk to you for 10 minutes or something, and you get the $25 gift card. So right off the bat, we got that. And then he answered questions and answered more questions and some more questions. And because we engaged in conversation with him, this is my understanding of how it works anyway, we also got 3 fast passes for Walt Disney World per person. And they do it by this, they give you a little card. Oh, and at that same time, Blake was with us. And this was like a half an hour, maybe 35-minute meeting. Blake was with us, and they had coloring sheets for him, and I think the TV was going, how they have you don't know because you haven't been on one of the bigger ships. On the bigger ships, the on-demand for the movies, you can pick and choose like which TV show or which Disney movie you want to watch, and it's available on your TV. You just like click and start watching it. So Blake was watching some TV and coloring on the coloring sheet. Dave and I were asking questions. I told this guy before we left, we are absolutely not purchasing DVC. I don't know if we're purchasing at all. But then my husband he said, well, it kind of makes sense to think about it. Like he said this as soon as we left the room. And I'm like, why would you ever tell me that? So then by the end of the trip, we were convinced we were purchasing it. Like I told our salesperson, we are so not buying this. I'm only here for information. I doubt we'll ever buy it. And if we buy it, we're going to buy like the smallest contract, because we're not going to get into all this on the show. People can look this up later. But if you buy direct with Disney, you get certain perks after a certain number of points. And this policy has changed over the last year, and it looks like it's going to change even going forward. If you buy resale, so if you buy somebody else's contract, like if I were to buy your contract, I wouldn't get all the perks from this point going forward. Some people in the past were grandfathered in. So if you buy 75 points through DCL, you get all these points. I was like, we're going to buy 75 or 100 points. We're not buying a ton of points. It's just not what we're going to do. Well, so, isn't that how it always goes?
Right.
But anyway, we got 3 fast passes. It's on a little card. It has like the guy's business card that we met with. When we want to use them, which we will use them in June or July, we take it to a DVC kiosk in the parks or at the hotel, and they will activate them on our account. So then each of us, the 3, my son and husband and I, will each get 3 anytime fast passes to use during the rest of that particular trip.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was like a fun feature. The other thing we got was $1,500 off if you bought 150 points. And they did it either by giving you $500 off and a $1,000 shipboard credit. So I suppose if you spent a lot of money, and, this is that some people want to purchase things and want to see a benefit right away. But to me, I wanted my whole DVC contract to be cheaper. So he said we can combine it. It's no problem. So we took it as $1,500 off our contract. This is the reason I have so many points. So we did this meeting in September. We actually signed up in October, at some point in October. It covers that first year. We get the first year's points. So our use year starts in April. So my points recycle in April. We got all the points, 100, our whole contract points in April. And we're going to get the contract points again in April.
Right. So you got 160 points from, even though you bought it in
150.
Sorry, yeah. 150. Sorry. So even though you bought it in September, your use year being April 2018, you still got the 150 points for 2018, and then in April 2019, you'll get another 150 points.
And we've only had to pay dues so you pay for the points, and then you pay dues every month for what they say maintenance, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we only have to pay dues for the October, November. I don't remember when that started. Through April we still got a whole year's worth of points.
That's nice.
So that was a nice added bonus. I mean, that gives me another year's worth of hotel stays. And if we're taking these shorter trips during, maybe not as peak times, it will help. They also told me that when you go to make your first stay, DVC will help you get a stay. When I signed up in October, I was looking we were like, when can we go? Well, we were told, since my son was out of school for all those days, we thought, hey, we could go New Year's Eve. Well, at that time, there were no hotel rooms left for New Year's Eve under DVC, but Disney holds them back in different resorts. So if people do sign up for DVC, they have them available. So they help you get your first reservation, because for the most part, you would try to get your reservation either 7 months before your stay or 11 months before your stay, depending on the hotel you're staying at. When you sign up, you don't have that kind of time. So you want to, in theory, do your first stay sooner. So they will help you for that first stay get a reservation somewhere that otherwise wouldn't be available.
So overall, your experience buying it on the ship, pretty easy?
Yeah. Oh, so part of what we did is I went back. I had a couple more questions. So once my husband was like, well, I think it's something we should consider, I was like, darn it. Why did you tell me that? Now we're purchasing this.
It's like an earworm, isn't it?
Yes. So we just kept talking. Blake was doing a lot of playing. And so we had time with just him playing with his cars in the room to talk through some of this and whether it made sense. And we had another series of questions. So I just wrote them down. And I don't remember what Blake and Dave were doing at that time, but I was able to get another quick appointment, go back to the guy and ask him some follow-up questions. And then he's my sales rep. So he actually wasn't even on the ship the next week. They're Orlando people, and they put him on the ship and take him off and do all, sometimes he's in the park, sometimes he's in an office, sometimes he's whatever. I guess he's never technically in the parks, but he's either at the Walt Disney World offices or on the cruise ship. So he was able to answer my questions going forward. They give you that deal of that $1,500 credit or whatever, or $1,500 off. They say for a week, and I don't know how long they really leave that open for. So you don't necessarily have to sign paperwork over those first 3 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't have to sign any DVC paperwork over those days. Oh, also, I have a trust so that if something were to happen to my husband and I, my kid doesn't get our money or the money he would get at 18 years old. So in Michigan, the laws vary in all the states, but in Michigan, He would get the money at 18. I wouldn't want that to happen if we both passed away. So we have a trust set up for him. And I was able to purchase our DVC in the trust so that, when we do need to pass it on, we do pass away, it's easier to do. So that required extra paperwork, which was kind of nice because it gave us more time to figure out the financing element. So we put a bunch of money down on it. Also, I think we told Disney we weren't going to use their financing. They told us that it's easy to change at any time, to just let us know. And their process for financing is pretty easy as well. To give some an idea, as of September, they charge 10% interest if you do finance any portion of it. There is a small fee for the loan paperwork. The loan is really easy. It's based on credit score and maybe a couple other things, but it's really easy. It's not compounding, if that makes sense. So you know how a credit card is compounding? Like they take the interest and the balance and it compounds off of each other. Mm-hmm. It's like the 10% over the course of the year. So that makes it like a little bit cheaper. Hopefully people understand that. So the price for points, I think, just went up. You could probably even look it up at what the price per point is at Copper Creek. And that's just how you figure out, what it's going to cost. It was a really easy, though, experience. And it was not a hard sell. I mean, this guy was like, I totally understand if you don't buy. And I think most of them are like that. I think 99.9% of the DVC people are like that. And I think there are a couple that are jerks based on things I've heard from other people. But, he just answered my questions.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. Our two experiences buying the two different contracts that we have, both of the agents that we used they're really good about answering your questions. I mean, do the research ahead of time. If you do go in there and kind of get swept away and do buy them, I believe you have, is it a 2-week grace period that you can decide?
There's some sort of buyer's remorse period.
Yeah. So if for some reason you're on the ship, all of a sudden you get caught up in the whirl and you're like, oh, and then you get home and you're like, whoa, this is probably more than what we should have done. They do give you a little bit of a period about that. But I think I would just encourage people to really do your research ahead of time.
Yeah. Don't just show up and say, I have questions, and then somehow agree to buy DVC.
Yeah, who would do that?
I mean, the nerve. Now, I will say I at least knew about it going into it because I had already experienced DVC. But, there are some differences. Like when you stay at a DVC room, you do not get housekeeping or mousekeeping every day. So they do come and take out your garbage now because they want to do an in-room inspection to see that everything is okay in there. So you don't get mousekeeping. And there's something to be said about having somebody else make my bed every day. I don't even make my bed every day at home, but it does make the room look neater when it is made.
There are a couple different differences. So like, do your research ahead of time.
Yep.
The main points are always do your research ahead of time. Look at the differences. We can't even get into it on this show as far as the changes that they've come up with as far as buying from DVC or buying resale points. Make sure you do the research on that. Probably one of the main things too is always buy where you want to stay or a place that you would like to stay. And then there are some other different, since I was prior military or retired military, we got a little bit of a discount there. There are some different discounts that they do offer. And then the points or the $1,500 you got off and whatnot, those kind of change. They can change from week to week to season to season. So those aren't always going to be there. So kind of watch what they're offering. And when you find that perfect point, then we have no regrets with ours. We love it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and so far, we're really happy with our decision. You also get some perks, which they could change at any time as well. If that's what they say, perks are perks. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed. But right now, we can, as DVC members, get the Florida resident rate for a few of the different annual pass options. It's not every option, but it's a couple of the different options. So that's really nice. That was a big savings. And we were able to actually buy those before the last price increase on tickets. So that was an even bigger savings. And then you get 20% off right now merchandise at the parks. So that was great as well. We got to use our DVC discount all throughout New Year's Eve purchases.
Those are nice to have. Well, we are kind of coming up to the end of the show, Christy.
Woohoo.
I know. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
I am so full.
I know. Well, kind of keep it with that cabana.
See what I did there with the cabanas?
Yeah. Well, kind of keep it with that cabanas theme. There's one more place we need to go, and that's dessert, right?
Ooh, yeah, we like dessert.
Yeah, so what's coming up for the podcast this year? Well, a lot more trip reports. We're looking forward to bringing those to you. Also, we've got some more DCL 101s. We're going to do one of these soon here, sailing out of Port Canaveral. I know you're excited about that one, Christy.
Well, I just think there's some good tips people should know.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't done that one yet. And I've got one that I was kind of putting together too, how to get your significant other to go and get the coffee for you in the morning. We're going to do DCL 101 show on that. And okay, maybe I'm kidding about that one, but no, we've got some more 101 shows.
Be a grumpy bear. Make it make it a real disadvantage if they don't go get it.
Exactly. So, how to get your significant other to go get the kids out of the kids club and get them fed while you spend more time in the spa.
Ooh, I like it.
That'd be a good show too. So,
will there be an episode on how to get your kid into the kids club?
There might be that too. For those whose kids don't like the kids clubs. But no, just kidding. We will have some more DCL 101 shows, trip reports, and always looking for some new ideas. So if anybody out there has something that you want to hear, we would love to hear it from you. And once again, if you'd like to come on and share your trips on whether it's on DCL or on Adventures by Disney, we'd love to bring it out to our audience as well. So please reach out to Christy and I. And between now and then, where can they find you, Christy?
Pack Your Pixie Dust on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, I guess.
Yeah, and you can always find me at DCL Podcast on Facebook and Twitter. And you know what? I just want to clean this up really quick. So it was $188 for the marathon this year, which is less than the half marathon for Wine and Dine weekend.
Wow.
And I just want to throw this out, too, as I was looking at it. Somebody told me about this. There was a gentleman, Randy Flores, who ran Dopey this year. You want to guess his age, Christy?
60 years old.
96.
Come on.
Yeah.
And Dopey, as a reminder, is every race, the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon in consecutive days.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and he did the marathon in 6 hours.
Wow.
After those 4 races. I was just looking at the results as we're sitting here talking a little bit, and they have men over 80, and they also have women over 80. Oh, they have women 75 to 79, so I'm going to look that up real quick before we get out of here, because I just think that's amazing. That 6 hours, 96 years old. The oldest woman was 79, and she did the marathon in 5 hours, so there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
She beat my marathon time. I beat the guy who did the Dopey, but she beat mine.
Yeah, so not that age is a limiting factor whatsoever, but if running, whether you start with a 5K, 10K, or if the marathon's on your bucket list, we'll just end with this, that, go out there and do it. Don't let somebody hold you back. I saw something on a Run Disney site this week that kind of depressed me, where somebody was being held back by their significant other. And I was like,
oh God.
Yeah, no, don't ever let that hold you back. Get out there and do it, because just keep that positive attitude and you'll get it done. So, and one last thing before we end the show, I really want to give a shout out to Kim Slusher, who's been the host of the Distracted Life podcast here for several years. Just an amazing podcast, a lot of good information and tips. She is putting an end to the show, and as she said in her last show, everything has a season, and for her that season has kind of passed. And I think for myself, she is the reason why I started this podcast. It's funny how something just kind of hits you, that she had a podcast years ago, and I've said this before, that talking about the difference between blogging and podcasting, and she really encouraged people that if you had something to say, get on the air and say it, and that was really the impetus for me starting this. And Christy, I know you started with her as well.
I did. I was a guest on her show for quite a while, or quite a few shows, and she is how you and I eventually got introduced through the internet world. And so, she's essentially the start of my entry into podcasting. So forever grateful. And I'm forever grateful of my friendship with her. So she and I have developed a friendship. So it is sad to see her go. Obviously, you and I get to keep talking with her, which is nice. But yeah, she was the inspiration for my continued love, I think, and of talking about Disney to people.
Yeah, and everything kind of comes and goes, and it's sad to see her show go. But I know that,
for sure.
But I know that your friendship with her and our friendship will continue, and love to have her come back on the show when she gets the itch to come back and talk some more Disney. But I think both of us wish her the best as she continues on and finds that next passion.
Absolutely.
Just a big shout out to you, Kim. Thank you so much for what you've brought to the Disney podcast community, and thank you for what you've done for Christy and I. With that, let's close out the show. Thanks for coming back and taking a listen. If you're heading out on your next adventure between now and our next show, we want to wish you fair winds and safe sails as you head out on that vacation. From Christy and I, thanks for coming back and taking a listen. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, Christy.
Bye.